3, hit it!
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to today's Caffeine for the Soul. And if you haven't already done so, I really encourage you to go to the Apple App Store, go to the Google Play Store, and download the Caffeine for the Soul app. And you'll be able to not only listen to this episode, but all our past episodes of the podcast. You'll be able to do our free basic course, and you'll get access to all sorts of other free resources that we offer through our site at michaelneill.org. I did a program towards the end of last year as part of our Genius Catalyst certification program that I called the Client Catalyst Intensive. And what it was, and I've done it, this was I think the 4th or 5th year where I've done this bit of the program or this part of the program, where I've worked for 2.5 days with a brand new client and from scratch, so that people who are training as coaches or who want to be impact catalysts, where they want to make more of a difference in their workplace or with their families or with others, can watch what it's like to introduce the principles behind what I talk about in these podcasts every week with somebody. And I love to begin a coaching relationship, a helping relationship with those kind of 2.5 day immersions. I call them intensives, but they're not that intense. They can be emotionally intense, but we talk for an hour, we take a break, we talk for another hour. It's not that intense from that point of view. And they're always an exciting opportunity to just show up and really be with somebody and see what happens when you point them towards their deeper nature. And you show them why they're great when they're great and why they suck when they suck and how they can be at their best more of the time and do less damage when they're off their game. And this particular year, I used a metaphor that I've used numerous times before of how a busy mind is like a snow globe. And so I'm not, my theatrical background, I do like a good prop. And so one of my clients actually gave me years ago a snow globe with a Buddha in the center of it. So when you shake it up, all you see is the snow. And when the snow settles, there's this perfect Buddha sitting there. And it's just I used to do one of the Little Mermaid before I got this one. So the Buddha's not the significant bit, but I do like that one. And so at an appropriate time, when he was talking about how he thought he needed to think through his problems more and that the problem was that he hadn't thought about them enough. And each time he'd say that, I'd shake up the snow globe and ask him, is it easier or more difficult to see to the heart of what's going on inside? And he would go, well, okay, it's harder. And he actually wound up falling in love with the metaphor to the point where he said, okay, first thing I'm doing when I get out of here is I'm getting my own snow globe, just to remind myself not to rev myself up and fill my head up with noise when I've got a big decision to make or when I want to feel more peaceful. But for all the times I've shared that analogy, this was the first time where I saw something completely new for myself. And what I saw was, I will never see more clearly by thinking more. I got the idea. I got the metaphor. I could see that it's not helpful to really rev yourself up and wind yourself up and overthink things, when you're trying to problem solve. But I somehow saw that at a deeper level. I saw that there will never be a time where shaking the snow globe is going to make it easier to see. And that did something for me. It turned, oh yeah, I shouldn't overthink, from a good concept to an obvious truth. We are made to operate beautifully with clarity. In my book, Super Coach, I share an analogy. I suggest, imagine walking down a a country lane near a lake after a rainstorm. And, the roads are drying out, but they've clearly been kind of muddy. And this car almost runs you off the road. It's coming so fast, and you jump at the last minute, and the driver sees you at the last minute and slams on the brake and almost crashes the car, spins it out, jumps out of the car to apologize and make sure you're okay, and you're fine. And you notice, as you kind of calm down a little bit, that all his windows, they're caked in mud. Like it's a miracle that he could see you at all. And he goes, I'm so sorry. He said, I know I should have stopped to clear my windshield, but my wife is in the car and she's having a baby, and you kind of go, it's okay, but let's take 1 minute and let's clear your windscreen so that you and your wife and your baby get out of this in one piece. Now, in that analogy, that's just common sense. And I'm sure you think, who wouldn't stop to clear their windshield if they're... But how often in your own life do you carry on full speed ahead when you can't see where you're going because you're blinded with fear or with rage or just with noise in your head? And how easy would it be? How easy is it to just take a minute, catch your breath, let the windscreen of your mind clear, and then you can carry on. And if you need to go fast, you can go fast. But you're going fast with a clear windscreen and your eyes wide open. So, my guess is if you're like most people I talk to, including me, you will have some opportunities to notice yourself shaking up the snow globe in the days and weeks ahead. And when you do, I encourage you to just see what happens if you let the snow settle and you can clearly see. Now, one last thing. Sometimes people hear this and think that, oh, well, you're telling us we shouldn't think. No, in fact, one of the most wonderful things you can do if you're stuck with a problem or a challenge in your business is you can deliberately shake up the snow globe. So you can deliberately, it's called disruption, creative disruption. Most artists use it purposefully. You can deliberately shake up the snow globe and try something that's totally out of character, out of consistency with the way you normally do things, so that when it settles, when you get back to clarity, you'll not only see clearly, but you'll see fresh. You'll see different. So, have fun, learn heaps. If you're shaking up the snow globe, do it on purpose and wait for it to settle and see what happens. Thanks for listening. I'll talk to you soon.